The day we arrived at the filming of Les Patterson Saves the World, it looked more like a cameraman's convention or a sound recordist's seminar. Their enthusiasm wasn't quite so much for grabbing quick quips from Celeste as for actually getting their faces on the big screen.
Give us a break.
Yeah,
One question, come on.
I think this is the end of you.
Thank you.
Very unusual for an Australian politician to play himself in a feature movie. This is an act of courage on my... Shut up. Act of courage on my part. I put myself on the line, as I always do. I walk a tightrope politically, but it's fascinating. A real incident that happened to me in the course of my work for Australia has been slightly rewritten, got ASIO clearance, and has been committed to the silver screen at this moment as we speak. George Snowy River Miller. There he is, reading a manual on how to direct films. Good luck to you, George. And it's fantastic.
It was originally conceived that when we were going to do this scene, that all of the media were going to be played by dwarves. Unfortunately, all of the dwarves in Australia are in New Zealand doing a pantomime. So we had to have the media playing itself. No worries, mate. Yeah.
Les Patterson Saves the World is due for an Australian Christmas release through the Hoyts Theatre chain. When it comes out, it will be riding on a wave of comedy success which Australia hasn't known before. The well-documented local and overseas success of Crocodile Dundee and the smaller and surprising Malcolm seem to have carved a timely path for Celeste. At least that's how co-writer and leading man and leading woman Barry Humphries sees it.
Comedies aren't, well, haven't been until recently very fashionable in Australia. For two reasons, I think. One is they're very hard to make, and secondly, it wasn't smart to make them, was it? Everyone was trying to make an artistic statement and win an AFI award. This film will not win an AFI award.
Barry, were you pleased with the fact that you were able to raise over $7 million without showing any investors your script?
Yes, I think, well, who told you that? We didn't show anyone the script. And frankly, I think if I'd ever shown a commercial theatre management the script of one of my stage shows, they'd never have lent me their theatres. Comedy is such a personal thing. But also, I think the success of Crocodile Dundee, which had already communicated it off to investors, encouraged a lot of people, I think, to back another Australian comedy. And I think we have certainly Paul Hogan's wonderful film to thank for the slipstream of goodwill in which we find ourselves.
And it's easy to see where the money is going. Onto the screen. The sets have been designed by Grace Walker, who also designed the Mad Max movies. This is the palace of Colonel Godowny, and outside are the fictional streets of Abu Nivia. Inside, the warm, smouldering heat of an Arabian day is generated by banks of high-cost brute arc lights. And the marigolds and glads have to be changed daily. The film crew and cast comprise of 170 people, and shooting has lasted 10 weeks. Barry Humphries' alter egos, Sir Les Patterson and Dame Edna Everage, have for the first time been working in close confines over a long time with a lot of different people.
Just go for pause.
This is what he's always acting.
Get up there. Get up there, darling. Go up there. On behalf of the peace-loving women of Australia, I would like to present you with a small, hairy token from down under.
It's a real koala. Look, everybody, from Australia, a koala. Not a dry eye in the house. Enough already. An extra million in the box office. Seductive. Yes. Australian animal.
On set and on screen, Dame Edna and Sir Les have a well-known love-hate relationship. Even though everyone knows they're the same person, most of the crew have taken sides.
I think sometimes Edna can tend to be a little bit bitchy. Now, I wouldn't say that to her face, you know. The eyes might come straight out. And I'm pretty sure that Les also feels that, you know, Edna's a bit prim and proper. With Barry, I only ever see him at rushes. He has never turned up at filming. Les Patterson is Candide. I know many of you people think that Les is a dribbling, womanising slob. Well, I can assure you that he stopped dribbling.
Let's go.
Since Dame Edna's debut appearances in the 1970s films Adventures of Barry Mackenzie and Bazza Holds His Own, she's become knighted, widowed, and larger than life.
When the public of the world flock to see this epic,
Dave,
my head is 25 feet to 30 feet across. I don't know what that is in decimals.
Thank you, Dame Edna.
Thank you very much, Brian. The kiss position, the osculation position.
Here we go. And the look. Very quiet. And just freeze the look. Freeze the look. Turn over.
Well, that is my big romantic scene, and I think this film is going to bring romance back into the cinema. I think it's been long absent. Old-fashioned, exciting romance where, well, I suppose a middle-aged woman has a lovely, warm and caring encounter with an exotic person. It has many, many precedents in the history of the cinema. And, you know, from the old days of The Sheik, you wouldn't remember that. That was a silent film. Andrew Shaw would remember it, mainly because he's a bit of a buff, isn't he?
What do you think of your director, George Miller?
I have a lot of time for him. He's not the one who made the Mad Max films, which I thought were a little bit permissive, though talented. But he, of course, created that box office smasheroo, The Man from Snowy River. And you know, George Miller has secretly confided in me that he even prefers working with me to Kirk Douglas, and that's a big compliment, isn't it? But I love George, and he's being very kind to me. Although I'm photographing beautifully and the ABC cameras are trained on me not using any filters of any kind, he's favouring me. He's photographed Sigrid, so he knows what angle to put the camera so you don't get the double chins. He's marvellous. He calls it doing a Sigrid on me. Isn't he gorgeous?
That's the one.
So, it's gorgeous, it's exotic, and it doesn't dribble. But what is it, the film, actually about?
It opens at the United Nations in New York. It then goes to Sydney, then it goes to Moscow, Washington, and mythical Gulf Arab state, where most of the action takes place. It's simultaneously a comedy, a thriller, an espionage drama, a monster movie, and a disaster film, because in fact it ends with a disaster, which I can't describe now, but it's a disaster which I hope will not be a disaster at the box office. But it may provide a little oasis of mirth.
All right, thank you very much.
I must remember that phrase.